I'm Wendy Lynn Phillips, author of Naked to Knockout, Beauty and Image Expert, and today I am coming to you live with a new awesome video. I'm so excited about this. It's May and we're going to honor moms this month. I have some special guests I'm going to be interviewing and sharing a couple of tips. You're going to be encouraged. Motherhood is not for wimps. It's been said that when you decide to be a mom, it's like carrying your heart forever on the outside of your body. And boy, can I attest to that. I wanted to be a mama so long, and God kept telling me, wait, wait, wait. And I did wait, wait, wait. And so 3 miscarriages and 2 surgeries later, I got 2 precious baby girls. Today, they're 11 and 6. And here is a picture of them. Our little jewels, Kendall and Mackenzie. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the journey of motherhood, and I've got a really special guest here today. So I'm excited to introduce to you Mary Watts. She's here with me today, and Mary has been a friend of mine, a confidant of mine, my mother's. Her daughter is a friend of mine, and we've known each other a long time. This woman has seen a lot of changes, and she knows a whole lot more about motherhood than I do. Let me tell you, from 5 children, right, Mary? Now, I know you're going to correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
5 children. She has 34 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, and 3 great-great-grandchildren. Right? Isn't that incredible? And my goodness, tell us, Mary, what has been one of the greatest joys for you as a mom or a grandma?
Well, watching my grandchildren grow and the achievements they have made in their lives and following their footsteps as close as I could, and sharing in their achievements.
And their activities, being there, being involved.
And being with them.
Yeah, wow. Now, how many are local to you about? Children, grandchildren?
Most of them.
Most of them.
But I have one grandson in Japan and one in California. I've got them strung all over, and one that's in the Coast Guard that's ready to retire from the Coast Guard after 30-some years.
Wow.
Well, I've got them all over.
Yes, well, from
Carolina,
here to California, up north, in the South, and all over the world, really. Well, that brings me to my next question. So I bet you've seen a lot of changes, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Well, tell our listeners, what have been some of the biggest changes you've seen?
Well, first it was telephone. We just had party line when I can first remember. Now it's handheld that you can talk all over the world on it. So.
They're called cell phones.
Cell
phones. Cell phones. And you have one, and you know how to use it, right?
No, not really.
Not really?
Not with this new one they got. They're trying to teach me.
They're trying
to text, and I'm having a terrible time.
Well, I bet your great-grandchildren would certainly appreciate you texting them, but you probably prefer them just picking up that phone and calling Grandma, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And then our next big change would be television.
Wow.
And we lived across the street from the school, and we were one of the first in the city to have a television, so many times the teachers would bring their classes over to watch historical things on the TV.
On your TV, yes. The community TV.
Yes.
Was at the Watts household.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so your home became home to a lot of other children too.
Yes, ma'am, it did.
And one of the really special things about being where you are in your life is the torch that you've passed on, and the legend, and really being able to pass on and leave a legacy for others.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, tell us about, do you have any funny memories? Do you have any mothering memories, any fun times back in your life? I know that you have some fun things you remember doing with your daughter.
Oh, I sure do.
Yes.
And a lot of them involved Wendy Phillips.
It's true.
We were on a retreat at one time, and of course I was new in the Mary Kay field at that time, and we were off in a retreat, and the directors were in a different, they put them in a different cabin than we were in. So they were having a meeting, and of course I was always a big daredevil, and they dared me to go in
the
I went into the
director's
director's bathroom, and I smeared
Vaseline all over the toilet seat in my hotel room. Can you believe that? This woman, this little sweet innocent Mary, and after I found out who it was that I never would have guessed, the culprit, giggling in the corner, I knew she was somebody I wanted to get to know a whole lot better. So not only is she almost 90 and sharp, she's almost 90 and really spunky. So Miss Mary Watts, you've seen a lot of changes. You've come through a lot of challenges, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They're not all happy, fond memories, but they are rewarding.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I love every one of them.
Yeah, great.
They all mean a lot to me.
Great.
So.
Well, thank you for just taking a minute and stopping in your day to share. I know that some other of our viewers that may not have 40-some grandchildren, great-grandchildren, maybe they only have 4, or maybe they don't have any yet. But I know that I loved my grandma, and I am so grateful for the memories I have with her, and I know your children are going to cherish that.
Well, it is something for everybody to look forward to,
yes.
Is their grandchildren.
Yes.
At least you can take them and love them and send them back home.
Oh, no, spoken like a real grandma. That's good advice. Well, thank you again for being here today. Stay tuned for our next guest. Great, I'm back with my second guest now. This is the incredible Jennifer Dempsey. And if there was a Mom of the Year award, it would go to her. Not because she feels like she wanted to deserve it, had any goal, any idea to want to deserve it, but she has really been through an incredible last couple of years that we can all glean encouragement and hope and tips, truly, for how to deal with the drama of life. Earlier you heard how Mary shared about some of the rewards of motherhood. And while the reward is there for all of us, when I'm going through tantrums and drama or trauma, I do try to remember that one day it is going to be worth it. And I know that you too have been there, mamas. You have so been there. There is no course to take. There's no book to read that really and truly prepares you perfectly for the job of motherhood. And I know that's exactly what you must have thought 100 times over, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
Is what in the world has God picked you for to be the role and the mother of what she's been through in the last years. Now, Jennifer has 5 children. They have ranged from 2, well, currently 22, all the way down to 2.
Yes.
Right? So that's quite a span.
It is.
And they've been in homeschool, they've been public school, private school.
Right.
You've done everything with them. And little baby Joss, who is home with you now, is the 2-year-old. And many of our listeners don't know. We'll fill them in about baby Joss in a moment. But all of a sudden, in 1 year of your life, you had really and truly 6 months that you just could never have believed would ever come.
Nope.
And could never have been prepared for.
No, not at all.
Right,
Not at all.
right. So her son, Nick, was tragically killed in an accident. And that was as a 3rd grader?
No, he was in 7th.
Oh, excuse me, 7th grade. My daughter was in 3rd grade at the time, yes. So as a 7th grader, and then you found yourself 6 months later with your baby having to undergo open brain surgery. And anyway, I mean, I don't know, of course you can't be prepared for that. But share with our listeners a little bit about how does a mama go through that and remain sane? I know that's what they really want to know.
I can't promise I remain sane, but you know, I think that the background that I had, I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew where to draw my strength. And that made a huge difference. And I didn't feel capable in my own strength of doing it, but I knew that if this was the path that God had chosen for me, that He would give me the strength to do what I needed to do to get through it. And then in being open and honest about my needs, which is hard for me, and I think for a lot of women, we feel like we want to maintain control of everything and make sure that it gets done right. But you do reach a breaking point at times, and I think it's important at those moments to be honest about that, and to actually accept the help that so many people typically offer, and to just be transparent and admit that you have a need and that you can't do it alone. And it's in that brokenness that I think God shows you how much He loves you and what He can really make out of that situation.
Well, we certainly know that the Bible is full of stories of overcomers, and you know, we don't have to go through as traumatic things as the incredible, horrible, unfortunate death of a child to understand pain. But yet you said something so beautiful there, that it's in our brokenness that we really draw strength, and to make it through, that it's strength from others, from other sources, other things, other people, and ultimately the higher being, which is God. And your husband, I know, has stood beside you, and y'all have endured a lot. What have you done to keep your marriage alive?
You know, we try to find humor when and wherever we can. And he has a terrific sense of humor and manages to make me laugh every day. And so even if I don't necessarily feel like it, I try to match that positive energy when I can. So I sent him flirty text messages when he's at work, and for our anniversary had some boudoir pictures taken, and just try to keep that spice and that excitement there. We try to get out for date night as often as we can. I think it's important to remind ourselves that we're a couple and not just parents. One day the children will be gone and on their own, and it's going to be just the two of us, and we want to make sure that our marriage is still strong and we still know each other when that happens.
Well, laughter is a good medicine. And it helps when you either have that happen naturally, or you know, really have to work to find the giggle. And sometimes you do. And sometimes you scratch hard to find it, right? It was much easier to find the tears than find the giggle.
Definitely.
A lot of days, I know. And well, tell us about that. I mean, it just by chance there's someone listening to this that is really just in despair, and they're in the pit and they just don't even want to get out of bed. I know you could just give them a nugget of hope. What could you say to that person?
I would just say that, you know, God's mercies are new every day, and however you're feeling right now is not how you're going to be feeling 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years from now. All we have is today. So sometimes you have to get through it day by day. Sometimes it's an hour at a time. Sometimes it's a minute at a time. But you just, I have a motto, just do the next thing. So what's the next thing that I have to do? And sometimes that's all I can focus on. And sometimes that's getting out of bed, or, you know, making breakfast, or getting the kids to school. But it's keeping that in mind and doing that, and then when I've conquered that, then I'll move on to the next thing. So just not to be overwhelmed and borrow trouble or sorrow from tomorrow. Just let things unfold, and know that God has you.
Yeah, great advice. You know, you said it so interesting. I've often said take one day at a time. And I'm not hearing take one day. You know, sometimes you got to take 1 minute at a time. And so that really, I think that's great advice. And that's encouraged and reminded me that on a daily basis, boy, sometimes that really is it. It's just one step up the ladder gets me one step closer to the top, no matter how far away it is. It's called progress, and it's just progress for you. It's not measured against anyone else's timetable and anyone else's idea of what success needs to look like for you.
Exactly.
And so it does certainly take a strong woman to acknowledge that, acknowledge help, and to assess and reassess and focus on, you know, I heard, now here's the funny, and since I know you have a background in computers, you appreciate this, but someone, I just read that a woman's brain is like having 75 of those computer tabs open at any one time on the internet, and constantly that information is bombarding us, and we're making decisions for everyone else. And you know, as a mom, of course you're still raising 3 of those children in your home, and you never have the ability to make a decision for just you anymore. It's always at least for you plus one more.
Right.
And I know that that's the challenge of motherhood for all of us. And at least we're in it together.
Right.
And tell us this question, because I got a lot of this when, you know, when you experience loss, whether it is a miscarriage or not, people try to encourage you, or they try to console you, and some of them do it a little more effectively than others, and really they mean well, and sometimes it just doesn't go over so well. So what would be the one thing you would say, try not to do this? What would that be?
I would say try to avoid any statements that begin with the words "at least." For example, "at least you have your other children," or "at least you have your husband." Those are accurate statements, they're true, and they're good reminders, but at the time when spoken, I think they often make the griever feel guilty for having expressed the pain of their loss. There are things that I can say to myself, sort of kick myself in the fanny and get myself going, but I don't like to hear them from other people.
Right.
So I think that falls under that category. I remind myself to be grateful for what I have, but it doesn't feel comforting for other people to remind me, if that makes any sense. Yes,
perfect sense. So try not to say "at least" when they're trying to defer attention.
It minimizes your loss,
the pain. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. That's great advice. Is there anything else that you would just want to share about the joys of motherhood, the challenges? I don't know. I started when I was 19. I had my son when I was 19, and I had my last child when I was 40. And I think, you know, my daughter is Jocelyn, who's almost 2, has special needs, and that has been, even though I've been a parent for over 20 years, I'm still learning so much. Children teach you so much about yourself, and about them, and about the world, and certainly about God. So having that role is the most important one I've ever held in my life, and I'm just so grateful to have had that opportunity. Yeah, it is a blessing, isn't it? It is. So whether we go from trauma to days of drama and tantrums, the reward is really worth it, isn't it? Always, even when it doesn't go exactly the way that you think it's going to go. And it often doesn't. No regrets. Totally no regrets. Great. Great. Well, one of the things that I've always appreciated about Jennifer is that she has been willing to be open and transparent, share her pain, her frustration, share her encouragement, and more importantly, her journey. And so thank you again. Thank you for having me. For being another chapter for us to glean from and digest another little nugget of, I know that you said she's almost 2, is it next month? Next month, and she knows it. She's already owned that attitude, and we're having a great time with her. Well, she's here today with us, and she's being really good, and she's got 2 cute ponytails in her hair, and she just looks so precious and healthy and happy, and we are so happy for you. I know many of the listeners do know and follow you, and many will not. And so if you'd like to follow the Dempsey family more, you can find Jennifer Dempsey on Facebook, or she has a blog about Jocelyn's journey, and it's actually at www.jocelynsjourney.wordpress.com. Okay, well, Jen, you know, mamas wear a lot of hats. and I know you are constantly changing hats every moment, every day, and going here, going there. And so of all the hats you wear, one should be a crown. And today I crown you Queen for the day. Happy Mother's Day to you.